Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel Frontline News. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most shocking developments to come out of Russia's war narrative. Leaked intelligence reports have surfaced, and they're shattering the Kremlin's carefully crafted image. For years, Moscow has built its propaganda machine to perfection, projecting strength, control, and dominance. But behind the curtain, a very different story is unfolding, one filled with desperation, loss, and chaos. What we're seeing right now is the implosion of Russia's war lies, exposed by their own people and insiders who can no longer stay silent. From the very beginning of the war, Russia's government has painted itself as an unstoppable force. Its state-run media flooded the airwaves with stories of liberation, peacekeeping, and defense against NATO aggression, but the leaks reveal that even within the Russian military, officers never fully believed this narrative. According to the intel, reports from senior commanders describe collapsing morale, supply shortages, and growing resentment among the troops. What's worse, they confirm that many of Russia's so-called victories were either exaggerated or entirely fabricated to keep up appearances. This leaked data didn't come from Western intelligence agencies or activists, it came from within Russia's own defense network. The documents reportedly detail intercepted communications, internal memos, and classified assessments that contradict nearly everything the Kremlin has told the world. One particularly damning report shows that casualty figures are multiple times higher than what's been officially acknowledged. Russian families have long suspected this, as the number of funerals and missing soldiers doesn't match the government's number. Now, the proof is undeniable. Another shocking revelation from the leaks shows how Russia has been struggling with equipment production. Despite claims that sanctions aren't hurting them, the intel exposes massive bottlenecks in the country's defense industry. Critical components like precision chips, drone parts, and optical systems are in dangerously short supply. The documents reveal that Russian engineers have been forced to use civilian electronics scavenged from household appliances just to keep their weapons functioning. For a country claiming to be a military superpower, this is humiliating. The most explosive part of the leak, however, involves internal communications between top Kremlin officials. They reportedly admit that the special military operation has spiraled far beyond control. Internal memos discuss the fear of losing not just the battlefield, but the loyalty of the Russian people. There's growing anxiety over how much longer citizens will accept lies about victory and progress when their own lives are crumbling under inflation, conscription, and global isolation. The Kremlin's propaganda engine is running out of fuel, and they know it. One of the most revealing insights is about how Moscow's media machine coordinates its messages. The leaks include evidence that news anchors receive daily scripts from the Ministry of Information, telling them exactly what phrases to use, what topics to avoid, and how to portray Ukraine and NATO. Even the so-called independent channels are forced to follow these instructions. It's not news, it's theater. This explains why, even as Russian losses mounted, their state TV continued to broadcast triumphant stories about imaginary victories. But the internet is not something even Putin can fully control. The leaked intel suggests that the Kremlin is deeply worried about the rise of independent Russian bloggers and soldiers' families posting videos online. These ordinary citizens are shattering the illusion. Soldiers on the front lines are uploading footage of destroyed equipment, abandoned trenches, and pleas for basic supplies. Mothers are demanding answers about their missing sons. The government has tried to silence them, but every time they do, the anger only grows. The documents also show a widening rift between Russia's political elite and the military command. Generals are blaming politicians for unrealistic objectives, while politicians accuse generals of incompetence and corruption. The tension is reaching a boiling point. The leaks reveal that several senior officers have resigned quietly, unable to stomach the false reports they were forced to sign. Some have even fled the country, fearing they could be scapegoated for failures that were never their fault. Another disturbing aspect of the leak points to Russia's growing reliance on mercenaries and foreign fighters. The intel confirms what many analysts have suspected, that the Wagner Group's collapse has left a vacuum, and the Kremlin is desperately trying to fill it with undertrained, poorly equipped volunteers. Many of these recruits are promised high pay and benefits that never materialize. The result is a chaotic force that lacks discipline and direction, further exposing the weaknesses of the Russian war machine. Economically, the leaks show a country on the brink of exhaustion. Despite official claims that sanctions are benefiting the economy, the reality is grim. Russia's financial reserves are being drained to fund the war. Factories are working non-stop, but can't keep up with demand, while inflation and unemployment rise at home. Even loyal bureaucrats privately admit that the war effort is unsustainable beyond the next few years. The leaked memos warn that without a drastic shift in strategy, Russia could face a financial collapse that makes the 1990s look mild by comparison. What's most telling is the tone of these internal communications. They are not triumphant or confident. They are fearful, uncertain, and in many cases desperate. The people writing these reports know the truth that the myth of Russian invincibility is collapsing. One leaked briefing even acknowledges that the West's intelligence networks have accurately assessed Russia's weaknesses, a rare admission of failure. For a regime that prides itself on secrecy, such openness in private documents speaks volumes about the internal panic. The leaks also touch on how Russia has been manipulating global narratives. There's evidence of coordinated disinformation campaigns aimed at sowing division within Western democracies. The documents describe how Russian operatives have used social media, fake accounts, and even influencers to spread confusion about the war. But as the leaks spread, many of those operations are being exposed. The global audience is beginning to see just how calculated and cynical these propaganda efforts are. It's not just about the war in Ukraine anymore, it's about survival inside Russia itself. The intel indicates growing unrest in several regions, especially among ethnic minorities who have been disproportionately conscripted. Protests are being quietly suppressed, but the government can't hide everything. Local officials are warning Moscow that resentment is building and loyalty is fading fast. The more young men sent to die for false promises, the more anger simmers back home. At the same time, Putin's inner circle is showing cracks. The leaks detail internal feuds among high-ranking officials, each trying to secure their position as the situation worsens. Some have reportedly started moving assets overseas, anticipating a potential collapse or coup. It's a sign that even the elites who once swore loyalty to Putin are preparing for an uncertain future. The sense of unity that once defined the Kremlin's power structure is eroding. One particularly revealing document exposes the manipulation of casualty reports. Commanders are ordered to underreport losses by as much as 70%, while inflating Ukrainian casualties to maintain the illusion of dominance. In some cases, dead soldiers are listed as missing to avoid paying compensation to their families. This cruel deception is fueling outrage among military families, who now have concrete evidence that their loved ones were sacrificed for lies. The leaks also shed light on Russia's crumbling alliances. Despite official claims of strong partnerships with China, Iran, and North Korea, the reality is far more transactional. The intel reveals that Moscow is increasingly dependent on these nations for basic military supplies, a humiliating reversal for a country that once prided itself on being self-sufficient. The relationship is one of desperation, not strength. As this information spreads, it's becoming impossible for the Kremlin to maintain its facade. Independent analysts and journalists around the world are dissecting every line of the leaks, referencing them with satellite data, eyewitness reports, and battlefield footage. The pieces fit perfectly, revealing a regime drowning in its own lies. The image of a confident, powerful Russia has been replaced by a portrait of dysfunction and deceit. Perhaps the most symbolic takeaway from all this is that truth, no matter how deeply buried, always finds a way to emerge. For years, Russia's leadership has believed it could control reality through fear and propaganda, but the leaks prove that even inside the walls of power, there are people who value truth over loyalty. Someone within that system chose to expose what was hidden, and in doing so, they've struck a devastating blow against one of the most powerful propaganda machines in the world. These revelations are not just an embarrassment for the Kremlin, they're a warning for anyone who still believes in the myths of Russian strength. The war has exposed deep fractures in the nation's military, political, and social fabric. Every false victory, every censored headline, every staged speech now looks hollow in the face of undeniable evidence. The truth is out, and it's brutal. As the world processes these leaks, Russia faces a turning point. It can either confront reality and change course, or continue down a path that leads to self-destruction. But one thing is clear: the old image of Russia disciplined, united, invincible no longer exists. The empire built on lies is collapsing under its own weight, and as those lies implode, the truth about Russia's war, its leadership, and its future is finally being revealed for all to see. The leaked intel has done what years of diplomacy and sanctions could not. It has stripped away the mask. What's left is a regime desperately clinging to power, terrified of its own people, and haunted by the very lies it created. The brutal truth is no longer hidden, and for the Kremlin there may be no way back. Thank you for watching, and if you found this analysis insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more updates on global issues and geopolitical developments.